The ships came on a Tuesday morning. Daniel Hayes was drinking his third cup of coffee when the alarm started. He worked in a bunker deep under the Rocky Mountains, a place built during the Cold War to survive nuclear attacks. For 50 years, nothing had happened. Then everything happened at once. The screens showed them clearly. 400 ships, each one bigger than any city on Earth. They hung in space like metal mountains, blocking out the stars. Daniel put down his coffee and watched his world change forever. "Get me Washington," he said to his team. His voice was calm. He had trained for war his whole life. He just never thought it would come from the sky. Within an hour, every government on Earth knew. Within 2 hours, every person with a television knew. The aliens sent a message, and it played on every channel in every language. The translation was perfect. They had been watching humanity for a long time. "We are the Dominion," the message said. "We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. You will surrender your planet. You will serve us. If you refuse, you will die. You have 7 days to decide." The message ended. The world went quiet. Daniel watched the reactions come in from around the globe. Some countries panicked. Some countries prayed. Churches filled with people begging for help. Temples and mosques overflowed. People looked up at the sky and asked their gods to save them. Daniel had stopped believing in gods a long time ago. He believed in guns and soldiers and the stubborn will of human beings. He picked up his phone and called General Morgan in Washington. "What are your orders?" he asked. Was 62 years old. She had fought in 3 wars. She had buried 2 husbands and 1 son. She was not afraid of aliens. She was not afraid of anything. "We fight," she said. "Start waking up the demons." Daniel smiled. He knew exactly what she meant. In Nevada, Dr. Price worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. She studied weapons that no one was supposed to know about. Kinetic launchers that could fire metal rods at incredible speeds. Biological agents that could kill in seconds. Energy weapons that could burn through steel. All of it was illegal. All of it was ready. When the call came, did not hesitate. She had spent 20 years preparing for a war that everyone told her would never come. Now it was here. "How long do you need?" the voice on the phone asked. "Give me 3 days," said. "I will give you hell." In orbit around Earth, Captain Cole commanded the space station Horizon. It was supposed to be a research station. It was actually a weapons platform, hidden in plain sight. Had 40 crew members, 12 rail guns, and enough ammunition to fight a small war. When he saw the alien fleet, he did not panic. He called his crew together and told them the truth. "Those things up there want to take our planet," he said. "They think we will surrender. They think we will pray to gods who will not answer. They are wrong. We are going to fight. Some of us will die, but we will make them pay for every inch of space they try to take." His crew cheered. They were soldiers pretending to be scientists. They had been waiting for this moment. On Earth, the 7 days passed slowly. The aliens watched and waited. They had done this before on 1,000 other worlds. They knew the pattern. First came the prayers, then came the despair, then came the surrender. But something was different this time. The humans were not just praying. They were also building. Factories that had been closed for years came back to life. Soldiers who had retired came back to service. Weapons that had been banned were pulled out of storage. Morgan stood in the command center and watched the preparations. Her advisors told her it was hopeless. The alien ships were too big, too advanced, too powerful. Humanity did not stand a chance. "You are wrong," said. She lit a cigarette and looked at the screens. "Those aliens have been conquering weak species for 3,000 years. Species that gave up when their gods did not save them. They have never fought humans. They do not know what we are." "What are we?" one of her advisors asked. Smiled, it was not a kind smile. "We are the species that invented war. We have been killing each other since we climbed down from the trees. Every weapon you can imagine we have already built. Every cruelty you can think of we have already done. We are not victims. We are predators. And those aliens just made the biggest mistake of their lives. On the seventh day, the fleet moved closer. They expected a surrender. They received something else. The first shot came from orbit. Cole fired his rail guns, sending metal rods toward the alien flagship at 12% the speed of light. The impact was devastating. The alien ship broke apart like glass. The second shot came from Earth. Price had finished her work. Kinetic launchers hidden in the mountains fired round after round into space. Each impact destroyed another alien ship. The third shot came from everywhere. Missiles launched from submarines. Bombs dropped from planes. Weapons that humanity had built to destroy itself were now destroying the invaders. Admiral, commander of the fleet, did not understand what was happening. His species had evolved on a paradise world. They had never known real struggle. They had conquered 1,000 species who had simply given up when their gods failed them. These humans were not giving up. They were attacking. They were dying and they were laughing and they were destroying his ships. It made no sense. The last thing saw was a metal rod coming through his command deck. He died confused. He died afraid. He died learning a lesson that his species had never needed to learn before. Some creatures do not pray for angels. Some creatures become the demons. Morgan watched the first battle end. 60% of the alien fleet was destroyed. The rest retreated to the edge of the solar system, regrouping, trying to understand what had just happened. "Send them a message," you said. The message was short. It was broadcast in every language the aliens could understand. "You came to our world expecting gods and angels. You found something else. You found us. We are humanity. We do not pray. We do not surrender. We fight. Go home. Tell your empire what you found here. Tell them about the demons of Earth. And tell them this: if you ever come back, we will not just defend ourselves. We will find your home worlds. We will burn your cities. We will teach your children to fear the name of humanity. This is not a threat. This is a promise." The message ended. In the bunker under the mountains, Daniel Hayes smiled. The war had just begun, and for the first time in history, humanity was not fighting itself. It was fighting something else. Together. The angels never came. Humanity did not need them. It had found something better. It had found its own strength. And the galaxy would learn to fear it. The first battle was over, but the war had just begun. The surviving ships gathered at the edge of the solar system. They sent messages back to their empire describing what had happened. No one believed them at first. They had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had never lost a battle. They had never met a species that fought back. Now they had. On Earth, humanity did not celebrate. There was no time for celebration. Everyone knew the aliens would return with more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. The first attack was just a test. The next one would be worse. General Morgan called a meeting of every world leader. For the first time in history, they all agreed. There would be no more fighting between nations. There would be no more arguments about borders or resources or politics. Earth was united against a common enemy. "We need weapons," said. "We need soldiers, we need ships, and we need them fast." Dr. Price had already started working. Her team had captured pieces of alien technology from the destroyed ships. They studied every fragment, every wire, every piece of metal. Within days, they understood how the alien engines worked. Within weeks, they were building their own. "Their technology is advanced," told, "but it is not magic. We can copy it. We can improve it. Give me 6 months and I will give you a fleet." Nodded. "You have 3 months. Work faster." In orbit, Captain Cole led salvage teams through the wreckage of the alien fleet. They found bodies, technology, and something else. They found databases. The aliens had kept records of every species they had conquered. 1,000 worlds, 1,000 civilizations. All of them had surrendered without a fight. Read the records and felt sick. The aliens did not just conquer planets, they enslaved them. They used the conquered species as workers, as soldiers, as food. There was no mercy in the Dominion. There was only power. "Now we know what we are fighting against," said to his crew. "Now we know why we cannot lose." The months passed quickly. Factories ran day and night. Scientists worked without sleep. Soldiers trained until they dropped. Every person on Earth understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Lieutenant Christopher was one of those soldiers. He was 28 years old, born in a small town in Kansas. He had joined the army because he wanted to protect people. Now he was training for something he never imagined. "You will be the first," his commander told him. "The first humans to fight aliens face to face. The first to board their ships and take them by force. Are you ready?" Christopher looked at his squad. 10 men and women, all volunteers. They wore experimental armor that could stop alien weapons. They carried guns designed by Price, weapons that could punch through alien skin. They were afraid. They were also determined. "We are ready," Christopher said. 3 months later, the aliens returned. This time they brought 800 ships. They had learned from the first battle. They stayed far from Earth, trying to attack from a safe distance. But humanity had learned too. The new Earth fleet rose to meet them. 50 ships, each one ugly and brutal and covered with weapons. They were not elegant like the alien vessels. They were not beautiful. They were designed for one purpose only: to kill. Admiral Laura commanded the fleet from her flagship, the Defiance. She was 50 years old, a veteran of wars on 3 continents. She had never lost a battle. She did not plan to start now. "All ships, this is Admiral," she said over the radio. "The aliens think they know us. They think they understand what we are. They are wrong. Today we teach them a lesson. Today we show them what happens when you threaten humanity. Attack." The battle was brutal. The aliens had more ships, but the humans had better tactics. Laura used strategies that had been developed over thousands of years of human warfare. She split the alien fleet into smaller groups. She attacked from multiple directions. She sacrificed weak ships to protect strong ones. Christopher and his squad boarded an alien cruiser during the fighting. They cut through the hull with explosives and entered through the hole. Inside, they found the enemy. They were tall and thin with pale skin and large eyes. They looked almost beautiful, like angels made of ice. But they were not angels. They were conquerors. They were slavers. They were the enemy. "Contact," Christopher said into his radio. "Engaging." The fight was short and violent. The aliens were not used to close combat. They relied on their technology to protect them. But technology could not stop a bullet. Technology could not stop a knife. Technology could not stop a human being who refused to die. Christopher killed 12 aliens in 47 minutes. His squad cleared the entire ship. They captured the captain and forced him to give up the codes for the alien communications. Within hours, humanity was listening to every message the aliens sent. "They are afraid," Christopher reported. "They do not understand how we are winning. They think we must have help from some other species. They cannot believe we are doing this alone." Price worked through the battle, studying the captured alien technology. She found their shield generators and figured out how to break them. She found their engines and learned how to make them faster. She found their weapons and made them stronger. "We are not just copying them anymore," told. "We are surpassing them. Give us a year and we will be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." The second battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, 600 alien ships were destroyed. The rest fled back to their empire, carrying stories of the demons who lived on the small blue planet. On Earth, people finally celebrated. They danced in the streets. They hugged strangers. They cried with relief. For the first time, they believed they might survive. But Morgan did not celebrate. She sat in her command center and stared at the screens. She knew the truth. They would not give up. They could not give up. Their entire empire was built on the idea that they could not be defeated. If humanity survived, that idea would die. "They will come back," said quietly. "They will send everything they have, not just hundreds of ships, thousands, maybe more. We need to be ready." Cole had the same thought. He stood on the bridge of his station and looked out at the stars. For the first time in his life, he understood that those stars were not just lights in the sky. They were other worlds, other civilizations. Some of them were enemies. Some of them might be friends. "We cannot just defend," said to his crew. "We need to attack. We need to find their home world. We need to end this war before they end us." It was a dangerous idea, but dangerous ideas were the only kind humanity had left. Christopher returned to Earth as a hero. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a soldier who had done his job. He had killed the enemy because the enemy wanted to kill him. There was nothing heroic about survival. But when he saw his mother waiting for him at the landing site, when he saw the tears in her eyes and the pride in her smile, he understood something important. He was not fighting for glory. He was fighting for her, for his family, for every person on Earth who deserved to live free. "Welcome home, son," his mother said. Christopher hugged her and did not let go. Tomorrow he would go back to training. Tomorrow he would prepare for the next battle. But today, just for a moment, he was simply a boy who had come home. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven something. They could fight. They could win. They could be the demons that the galaxy feared. And they were only getting started. The galaxy was watching. Word spread from system to system, planet to planet. The Dominion, undefeated for 3,000 years, had lost 2 battles to a species no one had ever heard of. A species from a small blue world in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. A species called humans. The Galactic Assembly met for the first time in centuries. 1,000 species sent representatives to discuss this new development. Some were excited. They had bullied the galaxy for too long. Maybe these humans could change things. Others were terrified. If they fell, who would take their place? What would happen to the careful balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for so long? They decided to send someone to meet the humans, to learn what they were, to understand what they wanted. On Earth, humanity was preparing for diplomacy it had never needed before. How do you talk to aliens? What do you say? What do you offer? What do you demand? Mitchell was chosen to speak for Earth. He was 45 years old, a diplomat who had negotiated peace treaties and trade deals across the planet. He was calm, patient, and very good at reading people. He had never met an alien before, but he was ready to learn. "Remember," Morgan told him before he left, "we are not asking for help. We are not begging for mercy. We defeated the Twice with no outside assistance. We speak from a position of strength." Nodded, he understood. "What do we want from the galaxy?" "Peace," said, "but not at any price. We want to be left alone. If they give us that, we will give them the same. If they threaten us, we will respond. Make that clear." The meeting took place on a neutral station in deep space, arrived with a small team of advisors and a squad of soldiers. The soldiers were not there to fight. They were there to remind everyone what humanity was capable of. The assembly hall was enormous, a vast chamber filled with creatures of every shape and size. Some looked almost human. Others looked like insects or fish or things that had no comparison on Earth. They watched with hundreds of different kinds of eyes as he walked to the speaking platform. "I am Mitchell," he said. His voice was translated into 1,000 languages. "I represent the people of Earth. I am here to answer your questions and to deliver a message." The questions came fast. How had humanity defeated the? What weapons did they use? What technology did they possess? Were they planning to attack other species? Answered each question carefully. He explained that humanity had not wanted war. They had invaded their home. They had defended themselves. That was all. "You speak of defense," one delegate said. He was a tall creature with gray skin and sharp teeth. But your species built weapons of incredible power long before they arrived. Why? Who were you planning to fight? Paused. He had expected this question. He had thought about how to answer it for days. Now, standing before the galaxy, he decided to tell the truth. We built those weapons to fight each other, he said. The hall went silent. 1,000 species stared at him in shock. Humanity is not a peaceful species, continued. We have been at war with ourselves since we first learned to pick up rocks. We have fought over land, over resources, over ideas, over nothing at all. We have killed millions of our own kind. We have invented weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We have come close to extinction many times, always by our own hand. He let that sink in for a moment. They made a mistake, he said. They thought we would pray to gods and wait for angels to save us. They did not understand that we stopped believing in outside salvation long ago. We learned that no one would help us. We learned to save ourselves. We became our own demons and our own angels. We became everything we needed to survive. He looked around the hall, meeting as many eyes as he could. You want to know our secret? Here it is. We have spent our entire existence fighting the most dangerous species we ever met, ourselves. Every strategy, every weapon, every cruelty you can imagine, we have already used on each other. When they attacked, they faced a species that was already the most experienced warriors in the galaxy. They just did not know it. The delegate spoke again. Are you saying that your species is naturally violent, that you are born to kill? Shook his head. I am saying that we adapted. The universe is cruel. It does not care about weakness. We learned to be strong because we had no other choice. But strength does not mean we want war. It means we are very good at ending it. He straightened his shoulders and delivered the message had given him. Earth does not seek conquest. We do not want your planets or your resources or your technology. We want only to live in peace. Leave us alone and we will leave you alone. But if anyone threatens our home, if anyone tries to harm our people, we will respond. Not with prayers or with diplomacy, with everything we have. This is not a threat. It is simply the truth. The speech became known across the galaxy as the Demon Doctrine. It was studied, analyzed, and debated for years. Some species respected humanity for its honesty. Others feared them even more than before. The Galactic Assembly did not attack Earth. They were too afraid of what might happen. Instead, they offered trade agreements and cultural exchanges. They wanted to learn about these strange creatures who had defeated They wanted to understand. Price traveled to alien research stations and shared some of Earth's technology. Not the weapons, but the other things. Medicine, agriculture, art. She was surprised to find that many alien species had never seen anything like human creativity. Your music, one alien scientist said, it makes us feel things we do not understand. How do you create it? Smiled, we suffer, she said, and then we make beauty from the suffering. It is what we do. Back on Earth, Christopher continued training. He knew the war with the was not over. The Empire was too big, too proud to accept defeat. They would come back eventually. When they did, humanity needed to be ready. Laura worked on expanding the fleet. 50 ships were not enough. She wanted 500. She wanted 1,000. She wanted so many ships that no enemy would ever dare approach Earth again. We cannot just defend, she told. We need to be able to attack. We need to show them that threatening Earth means losing everything. Agreed. She authorized the construction of new shipyards, new weapons factories, new training facilities. Humanity was building an army not just for defense, but for war. Mitchell stayed in space, traveling from planet to planet. He met species who had been enslaved by for centuries. He heard their stories of suffering and survival. He began to think about something bigger than just protecting Earth. There are billions of beings out there who need help, he told during one of their calls. Species who cannot fight back against If we are as strong as we claim, Do we not have a responsibility to help them? Thought about it for a long time. First, we survive, she said. Then maybe we can talk about saving others. But the idea stayed with. The demon doctrine had told the galaxy what humanity was. Perhaps, someday, they could show the galaxy something else. Perhaps the demons could become angels after all. For now, though, there was only preparation, only training, only waiting for the next battle. They were gathering their forces, they were watching and planning. The galaxy was holding its breath. And humanity, united for the first time in its history, was getting ready to show the universe exactly what it was capable of. 10 years had passed since the first ships appeared in Earth's sky. The world had changed. Humanity had changed. The children who had been born after the invasion knew nothing of a time before aliens. They grew up learning about the galaxy alongside their alphabet. They trained for war before they learned to drive. Captain Torres was one of these children. She was 22 years old, born 3 months after the first arrived. She had never known peace. She had only known the constant preparation for a war that everyone said was coming. Now she commanded the patrol vessel Reckoning, a fast ship designed to watch the borders of human space. Her crew was young, like her. They had been trained in the best academies on Earth, learning both alien biology and combat tactics. They were soldiers before they were adults. "Patrol report," said as she walked onto the bridge. "Anything unusual?" Her second officer, Lieutenant Danny Park, shook his head. "Nothing, Captain. The usual traffic. Some scouts at the edge of sensor range. They never get too close anymore." Nodded, they had learned their lesson. 2 devastating defeats had convinced them to stay away from Earth, but they had not given up. They were rebuilding their fleet. They were planning something. And they were not the only ones. Back on Earth, Dr. Rhodes worked in the same laboratory where Price had once developed weapons. Had retired now, her health damaged by years of overwork. Had taken her place, continuing her research, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But was worried. "We are losing ourselves," he told his colleague doctor during a late-night conversation. "Everything we do is about war. Every child is trained to fight. Every scientist is working on weapons. What are we becoming?" Looked at him with tired eyes. "We are becoming survivors," she said. "Is that not what matters?" "Survival is not enough," said. "What is the point of surviving if we forget what we are fighting for? We used to have art, music, poetry. Now we only have guns." Did not have an answer. She was a weapons designer. It was all she knew. In the Capitol, Senator was asking the same questions. She was 60 years old, a politician who had been elected on a platform of peace. She believed that humanity had proven itself. They had defeated the twice. They had earned the respect of the galaxy. Now it was time to show a different side. "We cannot be warriors forever," she said in a speech to the World Assembly. "We have shown the universe our strength. Now we must show them our wisdom, our compassion, our ability to build instead of destroy." Her words divided the planet. Some people agreed. They were tired of constant preparation for war. They wanted to live normal lives. Others thought she was naive. They were still out there. They were watching. Danger had not disappeared just because they wanted it to. Morgan had retired, but she watched the debate from her home in Virginia. She understood both sides. War was exhausting. Peace was dangerous. There were no easy answers. The answer came from the stars. Admiral Laura, now the commander of Earth's entire fleet, received the first reports from her scouts. The hierarchy, the second most powerful empire in the galaxy, was mobilizing, not against Earth. "They have been watching us for 10 years, Laura told the World Assembly in an emergency meeting. "They saw what we did to They decided we are too dangerous to let grow. They are coming to destroy us before we become too strong." The debate about peace ended immediately. Humanity faced extinction again. Torres was recalled from patrol duty. Her ship was needed for the defense fleet. She gathered her crew and told them the truth. "This is not like the wars," she said. "They are smarter. They have been preparing for this. They know what we are capable of, and they are planning to use overwhelming force. 2,000 ships, maybe more." "What are our chances?" Danny asked. "Did not lie. Not good, but we have beaten bad odds before. We will beat them again." Christopher, now a colonel, was put in charge of ground forces. If they made it to Earth, his soldiers would be the last line of defense. He trained them harder than ever, pushing them to their limits and beyond. "They are different from he told his troops. "They are not arrogant, they are not stupid. They have studied every battle we fought. They know our tactics. We need new tactics." He developed new strategies, combining old Earth military techniques with what they had learned from alien warfare. He trained soldiers to think creatively, to adapt, to improvise. He turned them into something new. Rhodes worked day and night on new weapons. He hated what he was doing, but he understood the necessity. If humanity fell, there would be no art, no music, no poetry. There would be nothing. "We build weapons so that someday we can stop building weapons," he told. "That is what I tell myself." Nodded. She had stopped questioning long ago. She just worked. Mitchell was sent to the Galactic Assembly one more time. He tried to get help from other species. Most of them refused. They were afraid of they did not want to get involved. But some listened. The species that had been freed from rule remembered what humanity had done. They offered what little help they could. Ships, supplies, information. It was not much, but it was something. "You are not alone," one alien ambassador told. "Even if we cannot fight beside you, we hope you win." The fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system on a cold morning in December. 2,000 ships, exactly as Laura had predicted. The largest fleet humanity had ever faced. Laura gathered her captains for a final briefing. She was 70 years old now, her hair completely white, but her eyes were sharp and her voice was strong. "They think they know us," she said. "They think they have studied us. They are wrong. They read our history, but they do not understand our spirit. They know what we did, but not why we did it. We are not fighting for glory. We are not fighting for conquest. We are fighting for our children, for our future, for the right to exist." She looked at each captain in turn. "Some of you will die today. I may die today. But humanity will not die. We will win because we have to win, because there is no alternative, because this is what we are." Torres stood with the other captains. She thought about her parents who had survived the first invasion. She thought about her younger brother who was training at the academy. She thought about all the people on Earth who were counting on her. "For Earth," she said quietly. "For Earth," the other captains repeated. Laura nodded. "For Earth, now get to your ships. The demons are going to war." The fleet launched. 500 human ships against 2,000. The odds were terrible. The stakes were everything. Rhodes watched the fleet depart from his laboratory window. He had done everything he could. Now it was up to the soldiers. Senator stood in the assembly hall watching the same thing. She had wanted peace. She had gotten war. But watching those ships rise into the sky, she felt something she had not expected. Pride. Those were her people, her species. They were not perfect. They were not always wise, but they were brave. They were determined. They were human. The battle of the threshold was about to begin. And humanity would show the galaxy, once again, what demons could do. The battle of the threshold lasted 18 days. 300 billion beings across the galaxy watched the feeds from distant observation posts. They saw the flashing lights of weapons fire. They saw the explosions of dying ships. They saw the largest battle in recorded history unfold in the cold darkness between stars. Admiral Laura commanded from her flagship, the Defiance. She was everywhere at once, directing squadrons, calling out targets, rallying crews who were ready to break. Her voice was calm even when everything around her was chaos. "Focus fire on Sector 7. Pull back the third wing and reform at Point Delta. Do not let them flank us. They had numbers on their side, 2,000 ships against 500. They had planned for years. They knew human tactics. They thought they would win in hours. They were wrong. Laura used strategies that no alien had ever seen. She sacrificed weak ships to draw the enemy into kill zones. She sent small strike teams behind enemy lines to hit supply vessels and communication hubs. She turned the battle into 1,000 smaller fights, knowing that humans excelled at close, brutal combat. Captain Torres led her ship, the Reckoning, into the heart of the enemy fleet. Her mission was impossible: destroy the command ship and cut off their coordination. If she succeeded, the enemy would fall into confusion. If she failed, she would die. Full speed ordered, all weapons ready. Danny Park looked at her. Captain, we are not going to survive this. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. Maybe not, but they will remember us. The Reckoning dove through enemy fire. Hull breaches opened across the ship. Crew members died at their stations. But the ship kept moving, kept firing, kept fighting. Saw the command ship ahead. It was enormous, a floating fortress bristling with weapons. She had one chance. Ram them, she said. The crew hesitated for only a moment. Then they understood. They began evacuating to the escape pods while stayed at the controls. She watched her people leave, one by one, until she was alone on the bridge. For Earth, she whispered. The Reckoning hit the command ship at full speed. The explosion was visible from 1,000 miles away. Both ships were destroyed instantly. But the fleet was now blind. Their coordination collapsed. Their squadrons began fighting independently, without strategy. Laura saw her opportunity. All ships attack, push them back, now. On the ground, Colonel Christopher led his soldiers through the ruins of a captured staging world. They had built a forward base there, planning to use it for the final assault on Earth. Christopher's mission was to destroy it before reinforcements could arrive. His platoon was outnumbered 20-1. They fought anyway. Lieutenant Park, one of Christopher's best soldiers, cleared building after building. She was small and fast, moving through alien structures like she had been born there. When her gun ran out of ammunition, she used her knife. When her knife broke, she used her hands. Colonel, the main generator is ahead, reported. Heavy resistance. Christopher looked at his remaining soldiers. Half were wounded, all were exhausted. They had been fighting for 3 days straight. We push through, he said, whatever it takes. They pushed, they fought, they bled, and when it was over, the generator was destroyed. The staging base went dark. The reinforcements never arrived. In orbit, Laura watched the tide turn. The fleet, deprived of their command ship and their forward base, began to fall apart. Some ships tried to retreat. Others fought to the death. None of them escaped. It is over, Laura said when the last ship exploded. Her voice was tired. She had not slept in 3 days. Signal all ships, the battle is won. The celebrations would come later. For now, there was only exhaustion and grief. Humanity had won, but the cost was terrible. 200 ships destroyed. 15,000 soldiers dead. Among them Captain Torres, who had given her life to turn the battle. Dr. Rhodes watched the reports come in from his laboratory. He had helped build the weapons that made this victory possible. He should have felt proud. Instead, he felt empty. But then he noticed something strange. The alien species who had watched the battle were not just impressed. They were inspired. Messages were coming in from across the galaxy. Species who had been oppressed by the for centuries were rising up. They were fighting back. They saw us win, said, reading the reports. They saw that the powerful can be defeated. We gave them hope. Thought about that. Maybe the weapons were not the only legacy. Maybe humanity had given the galaxy something more important than technology. Maybe they had given it an example. Senator met with the Galactic Assembly after the battle. She spoke not of war, but of peace. She offered to help the newly freed species rebuild. She proposed trade agreements and cultural exchanges. She showed the galaxy that humanity could be more than just warriors. "We fought because we had to," she said, "but we would rather build. We would rather create. We would rather be friends than enemies. Give us a chance to show you who we really are." Some species remained suspicious, but many were willing to try. The galaxy was changing. Humanity was at the center of that change. Christopher returned to Earth as a hero. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had done terrible things because there was no other choice. But when he saw his family waiting for him at the landing site, when he saw the children waving flags and cheering, he understood something. He had not fought for glory. He had fought for them, for the future, for the chance that someday children would grow up without knowing war. "Welcome home, Colonel," his mother said. She was old now, her hair gray and her face lined, but her smile was the same as it had always been. "Thank you, Mom," Christopher said. "I missed you." Laura retired after the battle. She was too old, too tired to continue. She bought a small farm in Montana and spent her days growing vegetables and raising animals. It was simple work, honest work, the opposite of everything she had done for the past 20 years. A journalist came to interview her once. He asked about her legacy, about the battles she had won, about the thousands of lives she had saved. Laura stared at the sky for a long moment before answering. "We did what we had to do," she said. "We became the monsters so our children could become something better. That was always the point. The angels never came because we were supposed to become them ourselves. We just had to walk through hell first." The journalist wrote her words down. They would be quoted for centuries. Rhodes finally found peace. The war was over, and for the first time he could work on something other than weapons. He developed new technologies for medicine, for agriculture, for exploration. He helped build the first-generation ships that would carry humanity to distant stars. "We are not just demons," he told one evening, watching a sunset over the Pacific Ocean. "We never were. We have always been both, destroyers and creators, killers and healers. The universe made us this way. We survived because of it." Nodded, she understood now. Humanity was complicated. They could be cruel and kind, violent and gentle, terrible and beautiful. That was their nature. That was their strength. The stars continued to turn. Humanity continued to grow. New colonies were established on distant worlds. New alliances were formed with alien species. The demons of Earth became something else, something more. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other species whispered warnings to their young. "Do not wake the demons of Earth. But also, if you are in need, they may become your angels." The choice was always theirs. Tors was buried in a cemetery overlooking the ocean. Her grave was simple, marked only by her name and the words she had spoken before her final mission. For Earth. Her younger brother, now a captain in the fleet, visited every year on the anniversary of the battle. He stood before her grave and told her about his life, about his missions, about his hopes for the future. "We are doing okay, sis," he said. "We are becoming something better, just like you wanted." The wind blew across the cemetery, carrying the smell of salt and flowers. Somewhere above, the stars waited. Humanity was ready for them. The angels never came. They had not needed to. Humanity had found its own path, through blood and fire, through pain and sacrifice, through war and finally through peace. They had become the demons the galaxy feared. And now they were becoming the angels the galaxy needed. The story was not over, it was only beginning. But for now, in this moment, humanity could rest. They had earned it. And the universe watched, wondering what they would do next.